Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mustard Saves, and today I've got a what I eat in a week video for you guys. I do most of my cooking on Sunday in a big bulk meal prep, but throughout the week I do cook once or twice depending on what's in the fridge. So technically this video is not things that I eat in a single week. It's a collection of those various meals, but I didn't have anywhere to put them until now because now I have enough of them filmed to put them in a video. To start, you've been watching me make a big batch of rice pudding. This is a great way to use up any leftover rice, and you can really make this any way you want. Every culture has its own take on a rice porridge type dish, and you can make it sweet like this one or savory. And the longer you cook it, the less visible individual grains of rice will be, and the more liquid you add, the soupier it will become. One thing to keep in mind though is that as this cools, it will thicken. But if it comes out thicker than you want it to, it's super easy to fix. Just pour in more of whatever liquid you've been cooking it in. I finally got around to making a real pot of chili. I started with some frozen onion and celery so that I could get some of their excess water cooked off and so that I could get some good browning to start. And next up was a pound of ground beef. And you know what? I don't think I've ever gotten a roll of ground beef from the food pantry that says what kind of fat ratio it has on it. It doesn't really matter because you can use whatever you have or whichever you want, but I just thought that was something interesting. Once the beef is done, in goes a can of diced tomatoes, tomato paste, and kidney beans. And to stretch the beanage, I fished out one of these blocks of pinto beans that I keep in the freezer in the event that I want beans. And I only thawed it in the microwave long enough to get it out of the container because I don't have time to let it thaw all the way, and chili can cook for however long you're willing to wait, so it's no big deal if you toss it in there frozen. And for the seasoning, I just used this packet of chili seasoning from Dollar General and a healthy sprinkle of salt and pepper. My final ingredient may be even more controversial than the addition of beans, but in my house we like corn in our chili. Most recipes are just guidelines, and you can make food however you want. Some regions even add things like brown sugar, Worcestershire sauce, vinegar, and so forth, so please feel free to make this dish or any others in this video however the way you would like it. I had also attempted to make a clip of serving this chili as chili cheese fries, but my power went out when my fries were in the oven, so they were done cooking, but not crispy. So here's an annoyingly dark picture of our impromptu candlelit dinner of potato and chili. I have a beautiful pack of salmon that was very graciously gifted to us by our local food pantry, and to bring back some childhood nostalgia, I decided to do a good old-fashioned fish fry. I have some arrowroot starch that I bought 2 years ago for a recipe that only uses a teaspoon of it, and it has haunted me ever since. So don't mind the snazzy powder because this same process can be done with your average cornstarch. For the breading, my grandparents use cornmeal, but I have 2 bags of cornflakes sitting in my pantry, and I decided to zip some of them through my food processor and make corn crumbs out of them. And I decided to save you guys the trauma of watching me figure out how to scrape the scales off of the salmon, and now I'm just going through the motions of starch, egg, and crumbs to get a good coating put on them before plopping them in the oil. I used this sacrificial piece to test the oil temperature, and as you can see, it didn't look very good. I thought I'd waited long enough, but it turns out the oil can only warm up if you actually turn the stove on. Once the fish was nice and crispy, I tossed them in this total impulse buy of some Cholula wing sauce that was on closeout at Kroger, and it was alright. I don't really see how it's much different than regular wing sauce, and like full price it's like $7. So if you like Cholula, I mean, I guess it's alright, but for $7, I wouldn't recommend it just as like a regular wing sauce. You could just use whatever sauce you feel like. For a nice low budget side to go along with the fish, I made up some creamy rice. The base for this one is 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, and a can of cream of mushroom soup, and anything else is totally up to you. I wanted a more herbaceous vibe to go with the fish, so I used parsley, rosemary, and a healthy sprinkle of pepper. And I had also intended to throw a bag of broccoli in here at the end, but I forgot. So the pot was left to do its thing, and here's a shot of me trying to make a snazzy looking plate, but inadvertently overloading it, and off camera I did have to scrape some of it off into another plate. And for our final recipe for this clip, I pulled out this bag of chicken legs and squeezed as many as I could into a single layer at the bottom of my slow cooker because I wanted to make a large batch of Filipino style adobo. And I need everything to be submersible in the sauce, so I only wanted to put enough chicken to cover the bottom. I have been absolutely obsessed with making this dish, and using the crock pot isn't the most traditional way to make it, but at the time, I didn't have time to do the whole marinade, pan fry, and braise process, so I chose this as my next best option. For the sauce, you can make however little or as much as you'd like, but I really love to have leftovers of it so that way I can put it on top of rice by itself later. So I started with a whole head of garlic, 4 bay leaves, and about a teaspoon of ground pepper because I don't have any whole peppercorns. And for my adobo, I do like to add a little bit of brown sugar to take the edge off the vinegar, but not to make the dish sweet, and this one is totally optional. For my liquid, I went with a 1-to-1 ratio of 1 cup of soy sauce and vinegar, and then a small splash of water. At this point, I went rogue again and tossed in about a teaspoon of frozen ginger. I have some Filipino friends that I play with online, and they've told me that different households make adobo their own way, so I thought I'd try it out. About an hour later, when I came back to check on it, I got to see some really cool science. While not exactly appetizing, garlic will turn greenish blue when exposed to something acidic, and in China, garlic is pickled to make lava garlic for the lava festival where it is eaten as a side dish. As this cooked, the chicken did let off a lot of water that almost submerged them entirely, but I did end up flipping them over about 2 or 3 hours in, and I don't have any follow-up footage of what it looked like in the pan, but after about 5 or 6 hours, my whole apartment smelled like garlic and the chicken was falling off the bone, and I had myself a bowl of fresh adobo served on top of rice. And for any of the remaining sauce, I actually put it in ice cube trays. So that way, whenever I feel like it, I could pull out a cube of adobo sauce and just heat it up with some white rice, and it's so good. And that's everything that I had for you guys today. Sorry there was no real theme. I just sort of had a collection of various things that I've made throughout the weeks, and I finally wanted to put them on the channel to show you that I do make things in between my meal prep days. And for those of you who watch my food pantry videos, I'm sure that you were able to see the different food pantry ingredients along the way. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you want to see more money-saving content, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!